The helicopter landed smoothly on the private helipad of Evergreen Paradise, sending fine white sand swirling across the emerald green shoreline. Jared Reynolds, CEO of the international investment conglomerate Reynolds Holdings, stepped out with the characteristic confidence of a powerful businessman. A designer suit, polished Italian leather shoes. Everything about him exuded success. A senior staff member of the resort approached, bowing slightly in greeting. "Welcome, Mr. Reynolds. We have arranged a private villa for you, along with a conference room as per your request." Jared gave a curt nod, his gaze sweeping over the paradise before him. Crystal clear waters, overwater villas, palm trees swaying under the brilliant sun. But to him, this place was nothing more than another battlefield in his career. A multi-million-dollar deal awaited signing, and he had no time to indulge in romantic scenery or lavish vacations. As he stepped into the exclusive VIP area, he signaled to his assistant, "Double-check the schedule. I don't want any mistakes in tomorrow's negotiations." The assistant nodded, but Jared barely paid attention. To him, success was everything, and he was willing to sacrifice anything to achieve it. At the same time, a luxury cruise boat docked at the resort. Nicole Evans stepped off, holding the small hands of her 7-year-old twin sons, Ethan and Lucas. "Look over there!" Nicole smiled, pointing towards the row of floating villas. The boys gasped in excitement, their eyes sparkling. "Wow, it looks like a fairy tale castle, Mom." Nicole chuckled, but deep inside a lump formed in her throat. She had worked tirelessly for the past 7 years, saving every penny to bring her children here. This wasn't just a vacation, it was a gift, an attempt to make up for what they had never had, a complete family. She squeezed their little hands gently, her gaze drifting over the wealthy couples walking hand in hand, the happy families enjoying their time together. A pang of sadness crept into her heart. 7 years ago, she had dreamed of a family like that too. But the only man she had ever loved, the father of the 2 children standing beside her, had vanished from her life without a single explanation. Jared Reynolds. Nicole took a deep breath, pushing the past aside. This was her time with her children, and she wouldn't let anything or anyone ruin it. She had no idea that fate had already set in motion an inevitable reunion. Hello, Soul Stories family. I hope you're all doing well. May God bless you with love, joy, and peace. I pray your days shine bright, your burdens ease, and your dreams come true. How did our last story touch you? Share your thoughts in the comments. I truly value them. You're more than subscribers, you're family. Your presence means the world to me. Part 1. The Fated Encounter. The second night at Evergreen Paradise was bathed in shimmering lights reflecting on the still ocean. In the distance, soft music from the restaurant blended with the whispers of the breeze through the palm trees. Jared Reynolds walked out of the conference room, his mind tense. The investment deal, which had seemed smooth, suddenly hit a roadblock. The partners demanded an additional clause that he couldn't immediately accept. The negotiations would resume in the morning, but for now, all he wanted was a cold shower and a moment of rest in his villa. His assistant had handed him the key earlier, but due to a system error at the resort, the staff had mistakenly given him the key to another villa, Nicole's villa. Jared walked along the wooden pathway leading to the overwater villas, loosening his tie. His head was still spinning with numbers and contract terms. Without bothering to turn on the lights, he pushed open the door and stepped inside, completely unaware that this was not his room. Inside, the living room was warm and inviting, dimly lit by soft bedside lamps that cast gentle shadows over the elegant interior. A faint scent of vanilla and coconut lingered in the air, a familiar fragrance he couldn't quite place until he saw her. Nicole stood in the living room, dressed in a simple beige silk dress, her long brown hair cascading down her back. She was gently tucking in her twin sons, 2 boys with light golden hair and striking green eyes. Jared froze. All sounds seemed to fade into silence. The children, they looked exactly like him as a child. The deep-set eyes, the small yet lively figures, that mischievous smile. He had seen it before, in his own childhood photos. Nicole stood just as stunned, her heart pounding against her ribs. 7 years. 7 years she had raised these 2 boys alone. And now the man who had walked away from her without a word, the man she had tried so hard to forget, was standing right in front of her, staring at the children. The air in the room grew thick, suffocating. Jared couldn't utter a single word. His entire life he had always been in control. In high-stakes meetings and billion-dollar negotiations, he had never lost his composure. But now he was facing something he had never anticipated, a truth that could change his entire existence. Nicole clenched her fists, forcing herself to stay composed. She needed to say something, to drive him away, but when she spoke, her voice trembled. "What are you doing here?" Jared took a deep breath, but he still couldn't find an answer. Right now, only one thought was racing through his mind. Are these children mine? That single question sent his world crumbling down. He had left 7 years ago, throwing himself into his career, never looking back. And now he was confronted with a reality that was too overwhelming to bear. He had 2 children he had never known about. Nicole took a step toward him, her eyes blazing with fury. "Get out!" Her voice was low but firm. Jared remained frozen, his gaze locked on the 2 boys. He wanted to step forward to say something, but his throat felt constricted. "Get out! Now!" Nicole repeated, her tone sharper this time, as if any hesitation from him was an insult. Jared blinked, then nodded slowly. But before he left, he stopped at the door, turned back, and his voice, hoarse and filled with emotion, asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" Nicole let out a soft, bitter laugh. "Tell you? For what? So you could walk away again? So you could see them as a burden?" Her gaze was sharp as a blade, piercing through him. "You chose to leave me, Jared. You never came back. So why, after 7 years, do you care now?" Jared had no answer, because she was right. With nothing left to say, he lowered his head and walked out of the villa, leaving behind a silence so heavy it was suffocating. Part 2. Memories resurface. The night enveloped the luxurious resort in a serene embrace, waves gently lapping against the shore, carrying the salty breeze through the glass windows. But no matter how breathtaking the scenery was, 2 people in separate villas across from each other found no solace in sleep. Both Nicole and Jared were haunted by the past, the sweet yet bitter memories, the happiness they once had, and the loss they could never reclaim. New York, 7 years ago. Nicole closed her eyes and the past replayed like a slow-motion film. She remembered the first time she met Jared, charismatic, intelligent, and fiercely ambitious. She had fallen for him completely, believing he was the man she wanted to be with for the rest of her life. They had been happy once, long nights talking on the balcony, a glass of deep red wine in hand, his gaze on her, both tender and burning with intensity. She remembered the way he kissed her under the city lights, the warmth of his embrace on freezing winter nights, the times they cooked together, the dreams they had woven for their future. "Do you want a family someday?" she had asked him one starry evening. Jared had chuckled, pulling her into his arms. "I've never thought about it, but if I ever do, I'd only want it with you." That answer had melted her heart. She had believed him, but then he left. Jared walked away without a clear explanation. "I have to go away for work." That was the last thing he said before disappearing from her life. She had waited. She called, texted, only to be met with absolute silence. At first she reassured herself. Maybe he was busy. Maybe he needed time. But then 1 month, 2 months, 6 months passed. Jared had vanished. No calls, no letters, no goodbye. Nicole had drowned in sorrow, her nights filled with tears. She buried herself in work, hoping to erase his presence from her heart. But nothing could fill the void he left behind. And then she found out she was pregnant. The pregnancy test revealed 2 bold pink lines, an undeniable truth. Nicole was shaken. She had been waiting for Jared to return, but now everything had changed. She called him, but his number was disconnected. She sent emails, no response. She went to her prenatal appointments alone, and when the doctor asked about the father, she bit her lip, unable to answer. She had prayed that one day he would walk through the door, that he would hold her and tell her this was all a misunderstanding. But he never came back. She had to be strong, not for herself, but for the two little lives growing inside her. Nicole endured morning sickness, exhaustion, and swollen feet all on her own. She worked late into the nights, saving every penny to prepare for her children. And then, the day of labor arrived. She was alone in the hospital, clutching the bed sheets as waves of pain crashed over her. No one held her hand. No one whispered, "You'll be okay." It was just her and her babies. When the doctor placed the newborns in her arms, tears silently fell from her eyes. "Welcome to the world, my loves. I will never leave you." Nicole had done everything for her boys. She stayed up endless nights rocking them to sleep, worked 2 jobs to pay rent, sacrificed her personal life to ensure they never felt the absence of a father. And now Jared was back, as if those 7 years had never happened. Meanwhile, Jared once had everything: a skyrocketing career, multi-million-dollar deals, a clear path to power. But to have it all, he had sacrificed something irreplaceable. Nicole, 7 years ago, the choice that changed everything. When Jared was assigned to a major overseas project, he knew he couldn't ask her to wait for him. "I'll only be gone for a few months, and then I'll come back." That's what he had told himself. He had convinced himself that once he secured his future, he could return to her, love her as fiercely as before. But months turned into years. Business swallowed him whole, one deal after another, one meeting after another. He thought she would wait, and when he finally realized he needed her, it was too late. He was afraid to go back, afraid to face her, afraid to see that she had moved on, that she had found someone better. But now the truth hit him like a crushing blow. The twin boys were his. While he had been drowning in contracts and corporate power, Nicole had been fighting alone to raise their children. A sharp pain twisted in his chest. Have I lost her forever? He could never forgive himself, but no matter how much Nicole hated him, he would not abandon his children. He would fight for them. He would not make the same mistake twice. 2 people, 2 villas across from each other, both lost in sleepless nights, tormented by the past, by unhealed wounds, by questions with no answers. But one thing was certain. They couldn't run from each other any longer. Part 3, the rumors erupt. The sun peeked over the horizon, casting a golden glow upon the crystal-clear waters of evergreen paradise. The morning was serene, the soft hum of waves blending with the rustling of palm trees. But that peace was short-lived. While Nicole was busy preparing breakfast for her 2 boys in their villa, outside, whispers of her connection with Jared Reynolds were already spreading like wildfire. Evergreen Paradise was not just a luxury retreat for the elite. It was a magnet for paparazzi and socialites. In a place where every guest was a millionaire, billionaire, or an influential figure, even the smallest actions became headline news. The morning gossip begins. At the resort's VIP breakfast buffet, something felt off. Guests, high-profile investors, business moguls, and celebrities were no longer just enjoying their meals. Instead, they were whispering, exchanging glances toward a particular table. At a lavish corner by the window, a group of elegantly dressed women were murmuring. "Who is that woman?" one of them asked, discreetly glancing toward Nicole, who was sitting with 2 young boys. "I heard she used to be involved with Jared Reynolds." "Wait, are those his kids?" Another gasped, eyes widening in shock. "Oh my God, look at their eyes. They're identical to his." Meanwhile, across the restaurant, a group of wealthy businessmen was having a similar conversation. "I saw a post this morning on a financial forum. Someone captured a photo of Jared standing outside a woman's villa. So the rumors are true? Jared has a secret family? If this gets out, it could impact his company's investments." The murmurs grew, weaving into a web of speculation. No one knew the full truth, but in high society, no one ever needed proof, only a scandalous story. The internet explodes. 9 a.m., a mysterious post appears. On a popular online forum that followed CEOs and celebrities, a photo of Jared standing outside Nicole's villa surfaced. The image, though taken from a distance, was clear enough to capture Jared's tense expression and the faint outline of Nicole inside the villa. Billionaire CEO Jared Reynolds and his secret family? Who is the woman with him? The comment section erupted. Wait, Jared has kids? No way. Those boys look exactly like him. This explains why he never talks about his personal life. If they're really his children, why did he keep them hidden? This feels like something straight out of a drama series. Paparazzi appear. With rumors spiraling out of control, it didn't take long for paparazzi to sniff out a potential scandal. One undercover reporter managed to snap another picture. Nicole and the twins walking along the beach. The boys laughed and ran across the sand, carefree, completely unaware that they were now the center of a media storm. The photo spread rapidly, accompanied by a sensational headline. The mysterious woman linked to Jared Reynolds finally revealed. Soon after, photographers began arriving at the resort, lurking around the villas, attempting to get closer to Nicole and the boys. Nicole panics. She decides to leave. 10:30 a.m. inside Nicole's villa. Nicole sat on the lounge chair, watching her boys play in the sand. She had no idea that a storm was already brewing outside. But minutes later, as she stepped inside to grab a drink, her phone started vibrating, nonstop. A text from a friend. Nicole, what's happening? Have you seen the news? Another message from a former colleague. I just saw your picture online. They're saying you're the mother of Jared's kids. Is it true? Nicole's hands trembled as she scrolled through the blaring headlines. She froze. She had spent years protecting her children from the public eye, and now in a matter of hours, the entire world was speculating about their lives. Her chest tightened. She had to get out, immediately. Packing to escape. Nicole hurriedly pulled out suitcases, shoving clothes inside as quickly as possible. She couldn't let this continue. She had fought too hard to build a stable life for her sons. She would not let them be dragged into a media circus. Boys, we're going home early. The twins turned toward her, confused. But Mommy, we haven't seen the dolphins yet, Ethan pouted. Nicole clenched her jaw, heart aching. She wanted to give them this vacation. But right now, protecting them was more important than anything else. She took a deep breath. She had no choice. She was leaving Evergreen Paradise. For good. Part 4. Jared tries to make amends. Nicole hurriedly dragged her suitcase out of the villa, her heart racing. The weight of whispers and judgmental stares felt suffocating. She needed to leave, immediately. She had to get her children away from here. Away from Jared and the chaos he brought back into her life. Her twin boys, Ethan and Lucas, walked beside her, confused but obedient. Then Lucas slowed down, pressing a hand against his forehead, his small face scrunched up in discomfort. Mommy, my head feels dizzy. Nicole's steps faltered. She immediately knelt before him, pressing her hand against his forehead. He was burning up. Lucas, baby, are you okay? The little boy swayed unsteadily, his eyes unfocused. Then he collapsed onto the sand. Nicole's scream tore through the air. Lucas, baby, wake up, please. His tiny body trembled, his lips pale, his breathing shallow. Panic surged through Nicole like a crashing wave. A tall figure suddenly rushed forward. What's going on? Jared. Nicole whipped her head up, her eyes filled with terror. I don't know, he just fainted. I need to get him to the medical center. Now. Without hesitation, Jared scooped Lucas up in his arms, his heart pounding against his ribcage. And then he ran. He ran faster than he ever had in his life. For the first time, he knew what it felt like to fear losing someone important. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but he didn't stop, because in his arms was a little boy who might be his son. A little boy he couldn't bear to lose. At the medical center, Jared refuses to leave. Nicole sat by the hospital bed, clutching Lucas's small hand, her fingers trembling. A doctor, clad in a white coat, checked the boy's vitals, frowning. He has a high fever and exhaustion. I believe he suffered from heat stroke combined with stress. Nicole's stomach twisted with guilt. She had been so focused on leaving that she hadn't realized Lucas wasn't feeling well. Beside her, Jared stood motionless, his hands clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. He felt completely powerless. Every minute felt like a lifetime as Jared watched Lucas's frail body tremble with fever. And for the first time, he truly felt the weight of what he had lost. He had missed everything. Lucas' first steps, Lucas's first words, Lucas' first scraped knee. He had missed 7 years. The realization hit him like a knife to the gut. Nicole stole a glance at Jared. He hadn't left. Not once. He had skipped his high-profile meetings, his million-dollar deals, all of it, just to stay here, watching over Lucas. She saw his hand tremble as he gently brushed the boy's damp forehead, his eyes dark with worry. For 7 years she had hated him. But this Jared, the man beside her now, was not the cold CEO she remembered. This was a father, a man who was terrified of losing his son. Jared tucked the blanket around Lucas's small frame and murmured, "You're going to be okay, little guy." And Nicole's heart ached. She turned away, wiping the tears that had begun to fall. For 7 years she had done this alone. She had endured pregnancy without support. She had rocked her babies to sleep through countless sleepless nights. She had answered their innocent questions about their missing father, not knowing what to say. And yet, for the first time, a part of her wanted to believe Jared had changed, that maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to do this alone anymore. 6 a.m., sunrise casts a golden glow into the room. Lucas's eyelashes fluttered. His small chest rose and fell steadily. Then his eyes opened. "Mommy?" Nicole let out a choked sob, relief washing over her. "I'm here, baby." Lucas blinked sleepily, then turned his gaze to the tall stranger sitting beside him. Jared. Lucas stared at him, his small face curious but cautious. Jared let out a soft, hoarse chuckle, exhaustion evident in his features. "Good morning, buddy." Lucas tilted his head, then turned back to Nicole. "Mommy, who is he?" The question struck like a dagger. Nicole's breath caught in her throat. Jared sat frozen, his expression unreadable. For a moment no one spoke, because neither of them knew what to say. But one thing was certain. Jared wasn't leaving this time. He wouldn't run. Not again. Part 5. The Public Confession. As the sun rose over the crystal-clear waters of Evergreen Paradise, the rumors about Jared Reynolds' secret family reached a boiling point. The media had caught on to the story. Several articles had exploded across news sites, their headlines bold and scandalous. Billionaire CEO and the mystery of his twin boys. Is Jared Reynolds hiding his own children? Could this scandal topple his empire? Someone had leaked a photo of Jared in the medical center, sitting beside Lucas all night, his face filled with concern. Alongside it were images of the two boys, their resemblance to him undeniable. At the luxury resort, the whispers had grown louder. Guests, staff, and even business executives gossiped about the news. But this wasn't just a harmless rumor. The investors in Jared's company were starting to panic. "Jared, are you hiding a secret family? We need a public statement ASAP to protect the company's reputation." This could affect the resort expansion deal. Jared's inbox was flooded with urgent messages from board members and stakeholders. He felt the walls closing in. But this time, his first priority wasn't his career. He refused to let Nicole and the boys be dragged into a media circus. It was time to take control. That afternoon, Jared personally contacted the press. A formal press conference was scheduled at the resort. This wasn't part of his original plans, but this wasn't just about his image anymore. This was about the people who mattered most. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the grand hall of Evergreen Paradise was packed with reporters. Cameras flashed. Microphones pointed forward. Live news channels broadcasted worldwide. The media frenzy had reached its peak. Jared stepped onto the stage, calm but resolute. Hundreds of eyes were locked on him. And then he spoke. "I know you all have a lot of questions." His voice was strong, his gaze unwavering. "I am not a man who shares my personal life, but today I will speak, because I will not allow these children or their mother to be hurt by baseless speculation." The room fell silent. He inhaled deeply,